everybody. Welcome back to E3 2018. I'm still here. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by a wonderful crew of game creators that barely know each other, which is really a best-case scenario. We're going to really get to know each other here on mic. So I'm joined by Thomas Buha from Remedy.
Hello, where do I look?
You can look at that camera way over there in the distance there.
All right.
You guys announced Control.
Yes, we did.
Very exciting at the PlayStation press conference.
Yes, and I'm so glad that we were able to keep it a secret. Like that just blew my mind in the end, because like the last couple of weeks, I've just been really worried about that. And there was somebody on the Remedy forums that have been around for like almost, 20 years. So there's really very few people there, and somebody had dug up the trademark Control, but
really?
and it's that message has been there on the message board for something like 3 weeks, and nobody picked up on that.
Were people talking about? Were you refreshing that page, just seeing who else was going to jump in there?
I just really stayed away. I was like, okay, I didn't see anything. Like I'm just not. I mean, we registered a bunch of stuff to throw people off, but that was awesome that that none of the details of the game came out.
It's the worst when it's an announcement. We had that last year, and some screenshots leaked, and it's like, ugh.
Oh, God. And, all right, let's get to the rest. We'll definitely get to Control here in a bit. Also joined by Dan Greenewalt talking about Forza Horizon 4.
That's right.
Very exciting.
All things Forza.
Yeah, all things Forza. I mean, because you've been around since Forza 1, is that right?
Yeah, I'm one of the founders of the team, the creative director on the franchise. So I've been in the same place. No career ambition at all. I just stay one place. But the franchise has grown up quite a bit around me, and has kind of forced me to grow my skills a little bit more than I guess I ever intended. But yeah, Forza Horizon 4, we just announced that. A lot of great news around that. Huge buzz. The crowd went crazy. The briefing was so fun. I mean, the crowd. We've never had a crowd that big at the briefing, and just hearing the crowd erupt was awesome.
And there weren't boos, right? There were applause. The best kind of erupting. All right, way to go, man.
I got the single note on Halo, that ding, in Master Chief's helmet, like. I thought the roof was going to cave.
Really?
It was incredible.
It sucks that stuff doesn't come through better in the stream. I wish it did.
There's big lights there in the auditorium. Clap now, scream now.
Lose your mind when the Who cover starts playing. Everyone enjoyed that trailer. All right, we're also joined by Thomas Mahler, CEO of Moon Studios and the game director for Ori and Will of the Wisps.
That's correct.
Get up on that mic more than you think.
Yeah.
Really make yourself comfortable. Congratulations. What has your show been like so far, man?
We just showing the game and showing it in this state. We've been up all night for the last 2 months. So
2 months?
It's fun.
Do you even get to feel this, or is this just a nightmare that you're walking through LA for?
Well, it's hard work. Like showing anything at E3 at any point, is always tough. But yeah, it's fun.
Well, let's talk about that. Because three experienced game designers here, game developers. Thomas, what is your exact title here, just so we have a frame of reference?
Head of communications, so
okay.
Feeling slightly out of place.
But you know the game industry well. If you don't remember, last year you were on the podcast as well with some wonderful folks. A press background from Finland. So expert opinions, nothing but coming from that end of the couch there. But what is so hard about showing a game at E3? Is it the pressure, the fear things are going to leak? Is it getting the build stabilized? What is number one fear and anxiety inducer throughout E3?
Keep naming things.
It's just all that stuff?
Well. Keep going.
Okay.
Like, I don't know which one's number one. It's, the teams always work very hard. It's almost like creating a vertical slice for a concept. You've got to really create a piece of the game. And it has to be polished to a level, you'll see on a demo, it'll say 20% done or pre-alpha code. Yeah, right. We polish all of our experiences to near finished levels. And that means doing full QA passes. You need to stabilize the build. You have to do a lot of things that are usually done at the end of the game right there. So you're really just shipping a slightly smaller product, but often it crosses all of your code base.
So at that point, I mean, do you have to go back and redo it before you ship the entire game? Or is it like, can we nail this one piece down and then build everything else up to that level and then we're good?
That's the idea, but there's no way around it. Like when you make a demo, production takes a hit. Like and that's like the worst thing. Like any throwaway work is really, really bad. So I mean, especially in Control's case, like it is a mission from the game that is very, very polished, but will it change? I'm sure it will change by the time we ship it.
It seems like the entire point of the game is everything changes.
Sorry?
It seems like the entire point of the game is everything's always changing and morphing. And
yes,
it's a trippy world.
Which gives us a great excuse. But back to your question, I mean, like like you say, it's just like a massive list of things. Like there's so many things to think about. I mean, our demo was done about 3-4 weeks before we came out of E3, which is like a record for Remedy. Usually the build is being sort of compiled by the time we get to the airplane. But everything from like build security, like I mean, we bring our own hardware, like we travel in different groups.
Different groups?
Of course. I mean,
Why?
you don't want everybody. Well, I mean, you don't want so much of the company in the same airplane, and like.
Is that serious? You guys are like the
well,
government?
we do all things like that. I mean, not that we think that we're all that special, but like, it makes sense when you have two different demo machines. They shouldn't be on the same plane. All those sorts of things, and you know, things just come up. Like this morning, we were setting up the demo, and we're wondering why there was clear input lag in the demo. Like this can't be. Like we've tested this. We're playing in the exact same machine here as we're playing back in the office, and then we like looked at some of the information that the TV gave us, and we were like, the vertical refresh rate is 30, but on the other one it's 60.
Oh, no.
Like how's that possible? Like you can't change that on the TV. And then we like looked at the demo PC. I was like, okay, so it wasn't about the controllers being broken. It was actually a setting in the demo. So there's all these things that come up.
I think it's often the small things that you can't predict. You know, you
Right.
have like, 2 months ago, like we thought, we're doing this little demo, right? And there's so many things coming up where that you can't even think about it. Like generally, I think with games, you can't really use a waterfall model, meaning, you first do this, then you this, then you this, and then you have a game, right? It's this constant testing, and there's a lot of perfectionists at Moon Studios where every single little thing gets tweaked and so on, and, you know, we're down to, you know, getting to sleep at like 3 a.m. only to have to then be up at 3:30 because there's a new thing coming in, and it's crazy.
Well, especially you guys have the extra challenges. I don't know if it's changed since the first game, but you guys are scattered around the world as well, right?
Yeah, we're 50 people now
50?
from 34 different countries. Which is
Why are
pretty
you
crazy.
doing this to yourself? It's impossible.
Because what we want to do at Moon is just hire the absolute best talent, right? And the whole idea is we don't want to be in one office and relocate people and so on. We just want to basically talk to people and say, hey, you know, you're talented, work for us.
And including, you guys hired not too long ago, like the creator of that another Metroid 2 remake,
Yes,
right?
So we actually, it's interesting. So we're trying to kind of like really build this dream team for the kind of games that we want to make. So we have somebody from Rayman, you know, we have Milton who made by himself another Metroid 2 remake. We have someone who made Intrusion. And so on. Like there's really crazy people. We have animators from Pixar, from Blue Sky, and so on now in the team.
Really?
Yeah.
It's showing. The game looks so good. And I was so happy that it got such a big presence at the press conference as well.
That was
amazing.
crazy. I didn't know.
Yeah?
Yeah, Halo came out and Phil was talking and something. What?
Halo #1, Ori #2 in terms of Microsoft lineup. No offense to Forza, we're going to get to it. It just seems great. But that's wild. I mean, so it's not communicated ahead of time that this is going to be sequenced this way?
No, I mean, Microsoft is very secretive about this. We don't know. But it was a super crazy surprise.
That's wild. Any surprising reactions from the community out there?
So far, the response is just great, you know. Like, we really try to kind of like just make this perfect package, you know. Like, Blind Forest, the response kind of like shocked us a little bit because we knew we had something good. But then we got, you know, Game Informer gave us a 9.5 and so on. Like, it's pretty...
We did? I don't even remember. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so, I mean, the response has been really good. But then, like, I always personally, like, look for more of the, you know, what is the feedback? Is there any criticism, right? And this time, like, I really wanted to go in and say, you know, let's try to make a game where objectively there isn't that much to criticize.
How hard can it be?
Yeah.
And you feel like you guys are on track for zero criticism of this game?
No, I mean, who knows? But the goal is that, right? The goal is really, like, the design philosophy was, I only want to do Will of the Wisps if Microsoft allows us to turn, you know, Will of the Wisp should be the Blind Forest, what Super Mario Bros. 3 was to Super Mario Bros. 1.
That's a great analogy.
We take the core that was really good, that was already there, right? But really try to perfect it, really try to give people something where, you know, a game where even 10 years from now it would still hold up, right? Like a perfect, like artistically super nice crafted package. And I hope by now people know that, hey, when Moon Studios releases something, we really worked super hard to give the fans something that hopefully is extremely polished and it's just super fun.
And the messaging from Microsoft is here's a dump truck of money, go for it?
No, but it was like there's definitely like on Oriented Blind Forest we were kind of like a little bit strapped for resources, right? So there were a couple of things that we weren't able to do that we really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And this time we basically approached them and told them, hey, we are doing it if we can really do all those things this time around. And I hope people in the trailer, like when they watched the trailer, saw how many different things we're doing. It's pretty crazy. Like I always want for every single environment to have a unique hook, something that makes the game feel completely different, right?
Right.
And yeah, I think we're really slowly getting there.
Yeah. Forza Horizon 4. That's exciting.
A big moment.
Huge moment. I mean, Forza Horizon 3, please don't be mad at me. That was the first one that wrote me in. I think a lot of it was the setting.
That's great.
Like, yeah, an amazing setting. I want to dive in. Had a blast with that game. Just adored it. Forza Horizon 4, take us back to like the early planning stages. Please tell me it's this situation where do you guys just have the whiteboard? This is like game designer dream of different locations you can go to and then just have like a full day of arguing? Or how does that process go for choosing the location?
Honestly, there's a lot of work before even talking about location.
Okay.
Our team tends to look at sort of big ideas, both technical innovations and design innovations that we want to bring to bear. And that's before we discuss what's in the game. So there's a long-term
But hang on, I gotta cut you.
R&D. Well, I'll get to how we got there. Believe me. So the long-term R&D, we're looking at things that are maybe going to be 3-4 years out that are technically feasible. We had been looking at seasons for a long time.
Really? Okay.
And it's kind of for a lot of open world game developers, this is something we all kind of want to do. The ability to give players the same area you're in, but it changes. It evolves, right? I mean, this is something that's been going back for a long time. So the tech R&D was starting to come to place, and we knew that for Forza Horizon 4, we were going to be able to do seasons. So that changed the list. It changed the argument about what location.
Of course,
because immediately we needed a location that was going to really sing with seasons. And Great Britain just came right to the top.
Because you guys live there, right?
Well, it wasn't because of the living there, though. That did make the game much easier to go research.
I can think of one better country with seasons, Finland.
Yeah, where are you finally going to give Helsinki
It's known for its amazing summers. And
good point.
I live in Seattle, believe me. So we've had a lot of people joking around about, oh, England, it's always raining, and yeah, it does rain, and that's a great thing in this game because the seasons are actually shared for the whole world. So everybody in the entire community will see the sunrise, the sunset. They'll see rainbows. They will see the rain showers. They also will have the changing the seasons every week. So every single week the seasons change and we share them together.
Okay, that's a fascinating idea. So your best case scenario, like everybody in this shared world just parks on the ridge, watches the sunset, and just comments on how beautiful the world is. Like that's peak gaming in your mind.
So that's the sort of thing that we were seeing in Forza Horizon 3.
Oh, interesting.
People were creating these stories within the game through community by being together. They were doing things between streaming and then just playing the game together in free roam and what have you. That they would create their own new kind of story and world, and that's what this is all about. It's a shared open world where you can explore it together. Yeah. And that's why we say, the seasons, they change everything, not just the look, but they change the gameplay. So even like an island where there's a collectible, it's inaccessible because, well, there's water. Right. You can't drive the car across the water, but as soon as you get to winter, it freezes over, you can drive across there and go get the collectible.
I have so many questions. Like, I understand seasons changing in a game like Last of Us even, something like that, but how does it work in that kind of like shared world? I mean, if I parked my car on that ice and just played it for 24 hours straight, just driving in a circle on the ice, when it rolls over to spring, will I just drown? Or like, what is that transition like?
Well, we do keep your car where it is. So actually, when the transition happens, you stay in the same car, you stay in the same place, we advance time.
So it's just like a little cutscene of like, now it's spring.
Yeah, quick cinematic.
Okay.
It's a very quick load. And that was the thing with the R&D, being able to use the same world asset, but have everything change. We didn't want to make any compromises. So we wanted there to be mud in the spring. The sheep actually get shorn, so the sheep are really full and they get shorn.
Give it up, folks. That's games, baby. That's beautiful.
It's all the details, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted you to be transported to this new season once a week and look forward to it, because actually every winter and every spring, they're all different from each other. So the winter you experience this week is going to be different than the winter 4 weeks in the future, where there's going to be new events, new cars to unlock, new things to do. So this is what's going to create the story of the game. It's you and the community together making these experiences.
Yeah. It's very exciting, man. All right, so the location. Back to that whiteboard.
Right.
Okay, I got to imagine even like the back half of Forza Horizon 3 people are in the kitchen, there have to be ideas flying about where people want to go. I imagine everybody chooses their hometown. First of all, like people from around the world, I'm sure, working in that studio, they're like, no, you don't understand. We have to do Finland. You don't understand. We have to do China. There's got to be those debates. Is it fun, or do you try and like push that down in the studio? Like, we'll get to that decision eventually. Everyone will have a say. Everybody relax. Is it less exciting than I think?
Opinions and arguments are part of being on a team. I mean, that's part of the fun part of being on a team. Everyone's got opinions. We go lots of directions with it. Both Motorsport and Horizon have this debate going on. It's as old as time. You know, what track should be there and what have you. But Britain just seemed obvious. And yes, the developer, Playground Games, located in Leamington Spa in Britain. And so most of those guys are coming from other areas within Britain. But what it allowed them to do is create incredible authenticity. So they could go on location. We were doing a lot of advanced techniques for capturing this cottage and that dry stone wall and all these different pieces of the country. And then we bring together Britain almost like Australia was the best of Australia.
Right.
Packed together. It's the same thing here. It's the best of Britain. So you can go to Edinburgh Castle.
Yeah.
And actually a new feature, you can buy Edinburgh Castle. Ooh. Yeah, so there's property that you can buy. And this is that whole idea that you just live in this Horizon world. It's no longer an endless summer. The seasons change. You can buy property. You can do jobs, race with your friends, be part of a team.
Yeah, and you guys got a little more experimental with the DLC with Forza Horizon 3, where you started experimenting more with snow, which is probably helpful tech moving into the next game secretly.
Yes, it was.
There we go. Also, the Hot Wheels thing was so effing cool. Like, once you guys ripped off that Band-Aid and you embraced the Hot Wheels license with crazy loop-de-loops, it's like, what would the fourth game even be? Is it just going to be sci-fi at this point? But that was just a fun experiment that's not a harbinger of things are going to be completely wacky here on out.
Right. I thought that was a great experience. It's exactly what you want an expansion to be. It takes you to a new place, but it's still the same, feeling. It's the same emotion that when you're in this area. But yeah, the moment I saw the orange track, it's like, I'm there.
Yeah,
and the orange track was great.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't change the core loop of Horizon 4 itself. It's still, playful, fun, time with your friends. There are more ways to advance your career now. So before you had to be a racer to actually level up and progress. Now you can be a photographer. You can be a streamer. You can, and this is this whole idea. You live this Horizon life. You can progress in multiple ways.
You can be a photographer in a car?
You get points. So we've got a huge photograph community in Forza, Motorsport, and Horizon. But now you actually get points based on how people are looking at your photographs and how many photographs you take, so you can actually advance your career that way. We don't want to limit it to just being racing, though we love the racing. We want people to race. Yeah. But we want people to have a fuller experience across the game.
Thomas, when you hear that description of the game, does it feel like night and day compared to what Moon Studios is up to? Yeah. Can you wrap your mind around building this world that they're building?
I think it's just completely a whole different development process. Like, we are doing this little, very artistic thing, and they're building this crazy open world. So, yeah, I think I don't think it shares that much really in terms of the development probably.
Do you think like if you were plucked out and plopped into Playground, you'd just be horrified and confused about what am I supposed to be doing?
So here's the thing, I don't even have a driver's license. I don't think I'd be in the right spot.
we do have people on the team that are actually not interested in cars at all.
Oh, really?
But I think you would actually feel right at home, because the truth is the teams get broken into smaller groups. The smaller groups have a ton of autonomy. And that's really the nature of even making big games today. It's not one person making all the decisions. It's small groups that are able to roll up decisions towards a larger vision. So there's tons of room for creativity, but it does have to be predictable.
Sure.
So there does need to be some amount of understanding of how long is this going to take to make and what are the resources required. So there is a lot of program management that goes into that. But when the program is well managed, creativity flourishes. You can go towards that larger vision.
And it's to the point where if there's a photographer on the team that says, I don't give a crap about cars, I just loved Pokemon Snap and I want to put that in Forza Horizon, you can say, let's crunch the numbers. Yes, you may do that.
And then new filters are born.
That's amazing.
But it's like all the things you're saying, like it sounds absolutely awesome. It just gets me thinking of how much nowadays games are like, they are so expansive, so large. Not every game, but like I just remember back in like late 80s, early 90s, it's like you can play a lot of different games. They're over pretty quickly or somewhere. And But now it's just like it seems like, okay, now I gotta get to work. I gotta be doing all these different things, and they're all possibilities. But it's daunting at the same time. Like the amount of like different features that get into games these days. Like it just, I don't know.
Well, especially from like a studio as focused as Remedy is, where it's like we want to do story-based, third-person action.
Yeah.
In theory, I know you guys are a little experimental around the sides and maybe moving into the future, but just that idea of we need a shared world, we need all these different options, we need to change the world at all times so people keep playing forever. Is that just nope? Not for us.
I mean we all like that. I mean that's
well, you're a huge Destiny guy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big Destiny guy definitely, and but it's you were saying like you're not sure if it would fit in. I agree. I think absolutely it would fit in because like people who make video games tend to like video games. Like there's a lot of passion there. And I mean for us it's like we look at Remedy, all different games, we're like, man, like I wish we could do that. I think that's the hard part, especially there's a lot of difficult parts in being a video game developer, but it's looking at all those games and kind of understanding why it takes years to get there. It takes years to build that foundation to be able to do all those cool things. So sometimes it's frustrating. Like it takes a while to build the tech, but then you're also super inspired, like about what you guys do and all that. So it's inspiring at the same time.
I just love how many different types of games there are right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we really are in a pretty amazing time. There are big teams, there are small teams, there are mobile teams, there are console teams, PC teams. There's teams just based out of China or South Korea that are making amazing games, incredibly creative. And there's so much genre blending going on as well, where teams are borrowing from old ideas and new ideas and putting things together, new progression systems being born. We're just at a really cool time. You can be on a big team, be on a small team. You know, budgets are small, budgets are big. It's all of that. And I think the gamers really just benefit from this. You've got so much choice now of where you can go in game. And for me, as a game designer and developer, I just see it as community building. You know, how can I get as many people into this and into this game to build more community? Because community builds more community. You know, the more people that are in there, the more people that come in. That's how we attract them. So it's less about sales or marketing or all of these things, and it's really now in our hands as creators to create great experiences that our fans then go stream, and the streaming creates more fans.
Of course.
So I feel like we have more power or destiny over the types of games we can promote ourselves.
Yeah. And speaking of community, that Remedy community, they're focused, man. They're passionate. They want Alan Wake 2 already.
Yeah, they do, and we're not giving it to them. Yeah, I mean it's nice that people still love Alan Wake, and I think there's quite a bit of Alan Wake in Control.
Yeah.
Not in literary sense, like it's Control is a new universe and a new game, but you can kind of definitely see that the sort of darker aspects of the game and the sort of mystery is kind of influenced by that.
It seemed like it was nice that it was a surprise for people watching the press conference at Sony, where I think I was in this room watching it with some people that didn't know it was coming up, and they said, "What is this?" And then across the room it was like, "This looks like Quantum Break. What the hell is going on here?" So what is this game?
That's interesting now that people have learned about Control, and we're getting a lot of like it's like Quantum Break, and I'm bit blind to that, but obviously it's the same tech, a lot of the same.
Oh, okay.
Same people as well, and yeah, both games are third person and have action in them, but that's pretty much it. I mean, they're not, they're two different games.
But this game was like in its infancy while Quantum Break was shipping, or like was it a complete overlap of? How does that transition work from people that worked on Quantum Break to moving over to Control?
Well, I mean, two ways. I mean, from a business perspective, you have to have another game in production by the time you ship the other one. Right. Otherwise, you have lots of people without work.
Yeah.
So yeah, a small team was working on Control before QB shipped. But then once QB shipped, then just start moving more people over, and of course we have the other game Crossfire as well. So we've been busy, but Control's been in the works for a while for sure.
Okay, so all I know, third person, trippy action game. The gun had cubes that rotated out in a strange way. what more can you say about what this game is?
I've never heard the service weapon described in that way. So we call it the service weapon.
Okay.
And it's this transforming weapon. So Jesse, the main character, has supernatural abilities, and that kind of extends to the gun as well. It takes different forms sort of throughout the game. So yeah, I mean, we're just trying to put a lot of weird shit into the game.
Okay, this is the weirdest Remedy game so far?
We hope. I mean, we hope so. I mean, we embrace the weird. I mean, we have the whole term "new weird" for the game. But it's been interesting to see. We have a lot of new people on board, so a lot of sort of older generation Remedy folks that really want to make a different kind of game, and then the new people who come in, they're kind of like there to like make what we used to make, which really it's interesting. We're like, no, you don't have to kind of do things that way. Just feel free and let's do something different, while keeping it, making sure that it still feels like a Remedy game.
Yeah.
But Control definitely is different. I mean, I don't think most people expect us to use the term Metroidvania when we're describing a Remedy game.
And there we go, Ori. Hey,
it'll definitely have a little bit of that.
Really?
I think, I mean, the game takes place in the oldest house, which is this massive transforming building that you kind of see in the trailer, and the sort of fantasy is that you get out of the elevator on some floor and you don't really know what to expect.
The oldest house?
Yes, that's what we call it. So it's based on a building that's in New York. Tom Hanks tweeted about that like a year ago. We're like, man, I wish that would have happened like at a different time. So it's the old AT&T building. Okay. It's this brutalist concrete building in New York, and that kind of inspired us partly. It's this building that has no windows or anything. In our game,
the whole game takes place in one location.
Yes, yeah, but it's this transforming location. It's like it's almost infinite. So it's sort of the core of the building is kind of this very mundane. So there's this juxtaposition between sort of mundane and then just weirdness. So the core of the building kind of, you walk around, it kind of seems like this old 80s kind of brutalist office, but the deeper you get into the building, the weirder it will get.
Okay, so it's kind of like Die Hard meets Cube meets Inception. Is that where we're going here?
That sounds like the best game ever, so it must be the one we're making.
Is that right? All right, something like that.
That's going to be pretty hard to match, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely influences. I mean, there was a point in the project where we were thinking like, how do we describe it, and like Die Hard kind of did come up.
Sci-fi Die Hard.
Well, this is not sci-fi. I mean, like Quantum Break had science fiction, but this is very different. It's a lot darker and crazy supernatural abilities, and we don't want to use the word like magic because that's kind of very, very Harry Potter like. This is a lot more sort of volatile and dark.
Okay. Crazy news this week at the Xbox press conference. Phil Spencer got on stage and said, "Hey, we purchased 5 studios, including Playground, the creators of Forza Horizon."
Yeah.
I think, tell me where I'm naive, but from the outside perspective, I was like, oh, I just assumed they already own them. What was that announcement like for you guys working on Forza Horizon 4?
Well, I mean, we knew about the announcement.
I would hope so, yeah.
So that moment was less of a surprise. Sure. But, I think this is something that we've been, as both teams, Turn 10 and Playground, working towards for a long time. So I think it's been a process or a relationship that's been evolving over the years. And this is just the next sort of natural or logical step in that relationship, because they're a very creative team. We work very tightly together. Teams, culture of teams makes games. And the Playground culture makes a great game in Horizon. And the goal is to keep that exactly the same. But we knew how to communicate well together. Turn 10, Playground, Microsoft, we all communicated very well. This allows us to have two-way communication so that Playground is brought into Microsoft's strategy at a much earlier level, right? Because they were an outside company, they couldn't be brought into a lot of the deeper strategy that's happening. And now they can be part of that. So I think it's, again, just a natural evolution of a great relationship going on 8 years.
Help me out. What is the history of Playground? What did they start out doing? And was Turn 10 is owned by Microsoft already, right?
Yeah, so, Turn 10 was actually born of Microsoft. So I was a Microsoft employee when me and 3 other guys pitched the original Forza. And the
wild.
Team grew from there. So I've been a Microsoft employee for, I don't know, ever.
Yep,
It
that's
feels
right.
that way.
When
So
you're a fetus, yeah.
With Playground, though, 8 years ago at E3, we met with a couple of guys. They had just broken out of Codemasters and formed a new company. They didn't have a team, and we really liked them. I honestly, I think we invested in the individuals.
Didn't they also, just sorry to interrupt, because I remember it was kind of like a racing dream team. I think there's a lot of people that, because Sega used to have a racing studio that only made that one Sega Rally game.
Yeah, the AM Studios.
Yeah,
right?
no, this was in the UK.
Oh, that
This was
made
UK.
that. Yeah, there
Yeah,
was one.
which was amazing, and then Sega just shut them down. I think some of those folks definitely ended up at Playground, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the UK development community has had tremendous history with racing.
Yeah, it's
I
wild.
worked with
Yeah.
Bizarre Creations back on the original
Oh, Blur.
Project Gotham Racing. Well, before even
Blur.
that.
Blur's also great, yeah.
But that Signosis, Codemasters, there's just been a ton of great development out of the UK. And so, yes, there was tremendous talent for Playground to pull from. And as they built from Horizon 1 and 2 and 3, they've been able to absorb great talent from around not only the UK, but actually all over Europe.
Yeah.
So that team is incredibly strong. And now, it's not going to be one team. The goal is that they keep their creative juices, they keep their culture, but they have better access and better resources to build even greater visions.
And Phil Spencer said they split out and then their team's working on something open world, is how he phrased it.
That is what he said.
Boy, certainly sounds like a fable I'd like to hear someday. Very exciting. Here we go. What do you guys think about those Microsoft purchases of those studios? Surely they came a knock into Moon, right?
I think it's a good thing for Microsoft. As a studio, we ourselves, we don't want to get bought. We don't want to get acquired. I think there's a certain pride that we have that we just say, no, we want to, not be employees of anybody. We want to work in our own pockets.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't really talk about it.
Yeah, I totally get it. What's the benefit of being independent from Remedy's point of view, do you think?
Well, obviously we had a long history with Microsoft, and Remedy's always been an independent company, even though we're publicly listed these days. But when I looked at that, and when Ninja Theory came up, because I was at South by Southwest with Tamim. We had a very good time out there because he was just relaxing after Hellblade, and it's just been awesome to see all the success they've been getting. So I'm pretty sure they were in a pretty good negotiation position, and then it's like when sort of things connect in the right way, like you say, it's like access to more resources and all that. So I think I hope it's going to turn out really well for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting to see that list and just realize that, all right, we're starting to build out the next generation of games in general. That was a big surprise, I think, for E3 this general. It just seems like it's coming so quick from the outsider's point of view, at least. Internally to studios, does it feel like next gen is coming up quick as well?
What can we say? I mean,
It's a trap.
yeah.
I think what you're seeing, at least from the Microsoft side, is planning that's been coming into play for a while.
Totally.
Phil Spencer stepped into this role 4 years ago, I think.
Maybe less than that, yeah.
So, 3 or 4 years ago, and started really shaking things up. The Xbox One X, super powerful console coming out sort of mid-cycle. That was really news.
Weird,
right? That was something really new. And, man, the games are really good. So it really had the sort of impact you'd hope as a fan, as someone who likes to play games. So I see all of this as part of what Phil has gone publicly and talked about, making gaming for everybody, broadening the number of players who are coming in, respecting all devices, trying to get people to play on PC and play on console and play wherever you want. I mean, I think he's being kind of amazingly transparent, and that's really cool. And then Matt Booty, who just moved into the position underneath of Phil, he has a vision as well for studios, and it was under him that a lot of these acquisitions and discussions were happening. So I don't think there's a lot going on besides what you're seeing. I mean, it's a great thing for gamers that studios is investing more in first party.
Yeah.
And on top of that Phil is looking to get more and more gamers into the world.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's too early?
I feel a little bit that way. Where I feel like some of my friends, more casual gamers, but gamers nonetheless, it's like, hey, I got a console a couple years ago, starting to enjoy it. We just played a game this year, not too long ago, God of War, where it's like, well, that's pretty tough to beat. Like in terms of just quality, like I'm cool with this graphical quality. I'm sure the budget was astronomical, but like we could ride this out for another 5 years, but I'm not in charge of pushing the future and pushing the boundaries, So of course they need to start planning ahead. And if it doesn't hit for another 2 to 3 years, I'm sure we'll be ready by then. It's just, I think a big theme this year at E3 is just kind of the shock of, oh, Bethesda's just saying Elder Scrolls 6 is coming and Starfield's coming on next gen. It's like, oh, okay, let's just, rip open the kimono. Here we go. Here's everything we got. The future is coming, folks. I don't know if you're ready for it. It's shocking from the outsider perspective, I think.
It's always been like that a little bit, though. Like I remember the Xbox One wasn't even that long as a console generation, right? Like it had like three.
The original Xbox.
The original Xbox, yeah. It had like 3 to 4 years or so.
Yeah.
And I think once we actually get there and you see the first games and what they can look like, right? That's when you're like, okay, I want that.
Right. Do you feel constrained by the tech with Ori? I mean, it looks so beautiful, but do you feel like you're pushing the limits?
Again, I think we're kind of like on the outskirts there. Yeah, we always try to push the tech. Like we get a little bit of, underestimated because there's like this, we're making 2D games, as at least like, the Ori series are 2D games. And yeah, a lot of people associate that with, that doesn't need any hardware at all, right? But we're really, really pushing hard. There's a lot of technology in Ori that is incredible. And we are really pushing Unity to an insane degree.
Yeah.
But the games that we want to make, like I personally as a designer, I don't really care about the hardware. I want to make games that, even a decade from now still look great, right? So I need to make them timeless. And yeah, we do that in a way where I don't want to be constrained by tech, and I just rely on my tech team that the things I do run at 60 frames, and it's all good.
Timeless equals 60 frames. Anything else?
Yeah.
This is not going to cut it. Yeah. Another interesting trend I've noticed at E3, and I think you can speak to it well, Dan, is there's been an interesting trend. Again, I don't know why I'm focusing so much on Bethesda, but it really stood out to me with Bethesda as well, like the announcement of shared world co-op, and you guys definitely hit that beat as well. And like, there's an eruption of applause when you talk about shared world.
Yeah.
And I think from, again, the outside perspective, it's like, I thought people didn't like online games. I think there's like that hardcore of the hardcore crowd that's like, let me play it single player or nothing at all. Yeah. But at E3, and I don't know how much we can put in this, but there is that passion, and there was definitely an outroar of applause every time there's an announcement of online co-op shared world.
I think gaming is just broadening out.
Yeah.
We were talking about this driving over. There's more genres, and as I mentioned earlier, there's more genre blending. But also just the traditional game, it still exists. A traditional single-player oriented game, they're great. They still exist.
Look forward to Control, everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't think it's anything about. I don't think this is about the industry changing. I think it's about the industry broadening. So even the way that people find out about games. I mean, how did you hear about Fortnite? How did you hear about PUBG?
Right.
Did you hear about it from an article?
Yeah.
Did you read a review? No, it's streaming.
Yeah.
It's Twitch, it's Mixer, it's YouTube. That's how you find out about these games. Well, those games are always better as a community. That's where the stories come from. The story is not in a linear progression. In Fortnite, the story is of the evening. It was that round. It was that battle.
That's all you need.
You might have an amazing story. Same thing with Sea of Thieves. Mm-hmm. Crazy stories come out of Sea of Thieves. None of them are scripted. Now, it's not to say, hey, the industry is going from one place to another. I think it's just broadening out. People are gaming in more places and on more devices. We're seeing more games that are going cross community, PC to console to console. I mean, this was unheard of, 4 years ago?
It's awesome.
5 years ago?
Totally.
We're just seeing an evolution of all of this. And I don't know. For me, I don't feel territorial about it. I feel excited about it. So, yeah, it's an open world in Horizon, and we're expecting people to create great community. But you can actually opt out. So if you want to play against Drivatars in the single-player world, that's fine. Cool. And then even if you are playing online, no one can hit you until you actually get into an agreement with them to play them cooperatively.
Really? Interesting.
So this is what I mean about blending. We've learned the reasons why you didn't want to be in an online world. We can deal with that. Good design can take care of that problem.
Yeah.
And then giving players choice. You want to play with a normal controller or an adaptive controller? Do you want to play on a PC or on a console? Do you want a 60 frame per second option on the Xbox One X? We'll give you those options. So that to me is what gaming's all about now. Bring people into the tent.
Absolutely. All right, Thomas, I need to ask, and I hope you've seen this trailer. I beg of you, I hope there's a Slack channel somewhere within Remedy where they're sharing this trailer. Did you watch the trailer for The Quiet Man during the Square Enix press conference?
I did not.
Oh, that kills me.
I haven't seen anything.
So is that right? Is it tough?
John Wayne Quiet Man? I didn't see it either.
No, I wish it was John Wayne Quiet Man. I don't know what this was, but it looks like Square Enix is doing a Quantum Break where they have live action video, and it was like this deaf guy walking in a back alley, then he's going to beat up some thugs, and then it cuts to quick gameplay, and then back to live action. God, I was hoping you guys were talking about it within Remedy.
Sorry, I feel really embarrassed, but literally like, all I've been doing is like demoing our game.
Yeah?
Like,
Is it tough to be on the developer side, just so focused on your game at E3 and not seeing just the breadth of games out there?
It really is, and I kind of pride myself on really knowing sort of what happens in the industry. But I get up in the morning, I make sure that the demo team is that they're okay, build is fine, and then it's just like doing the demo and constant barrage of like emails about what we have to do next and this and that, and maybe there's a typo on the website on the German version of what, and there's all these things that you have to focus on. And I mean, ever since the Control trailer ran at the Sony briefing, after I didn't see anything else in the briefing, just my phone just blew up like congrats and this stuff. I'm now
that's nice.
checking the website, going everything. So
I think that's a pretty normal experience around here at E3. I end up getting texts from friends saying, check out this video or go see this game. And I didn't even know it was at the show because we're kind of going from one thing to the next. So I need outside help. Where should I go next?
Right? Yeah, totally. I've got half an hour. What can I see that's cool? And I can't get in to see the Resident Evil 2 remake because the line's too long. What am I supposed to do here?
So is it a Resident Evil 2 remake? So it's not like, okay.
And it's like it's in the style of Resident Evil 4. But the cool thing I've heard so far, we're going to talk about it more on the show coming up tomorrow, is it seems scary. That's what people are saying, which is really cool. Like to kind of take the horror elements that they kind of rekindled Resident Evil 7, bring it back, even with the RE4 perspective, through RE2.
It's playable at the show floor?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
I think you're going to have to wait in a long line or have an appointment, but you can make it happen. You a big Resident Evil guy?
I used to love the older games.
Yeah.
And I liked Resident Evil 4, but recently I just didn't have time anymore.
The latest one is amazing.
What's that?
The latest Resident Evil
7,
is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Super good.
But I can't play that in VR. Like,
no, you don't have to play it in VR. Yeah.
Too terrifying in VR. I'm with you, though, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Control 2019, right?
Yeah.
That's the vague window we have. Not PS4 exclusive.
Hey, that's not vague coming from Remedy. who used to be saying, when it's done. Man, I hated that when I was in the press, and that was the line they gave me. Things change when you're a public listed company. You actually have to say these dates. So 2019.
Awesome, great. Dan, Forza Horizon 4. I'm looking forward to it so much. When's it coming out?
October 2nd. You can get it on Game Pass as well, same day.
That's wild. PC, same day, the whole thing?
PC, same day, yeah.
It's amazing. Ori, what do we got, man?
2019.
2019. Which game's coming out first, though? Control or Ori? You need to lock it down right now.
We're going to go head to head.
Same day, guaranteed, locked in. Sweet.
Seems like every game is same day. Like February looks insane. In
February
2019,
22nd I hear is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Also, everything before Red Dead 2 also seems packed as possible. It's wild.
This E3, at least at least I got to see some of the press conference. It's just a lot of great games.
Yeah.
A lot of awesome games.
Hell
Like,
of a
no matter
show.
what kind of game you like, you're covered.
I think that's true for the past couple of years generally. Like the past 2-3 years. Like last year you had Zelda and Mario at the same in the same year. Wow.
It's absurd. It's just absurd. Hell of a time for games.
So have I missed a new F-Zero? Has Nintendo finally done that?
Let's see. There's a new Star Fox, but it's only if you play Starlink from Ubisoft. Look, it's complicated, Thomas. We'll talk about it off air. We have to get rolling, but thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show. We'll be back tomorrow night with a new episode, new editor impressions. We're going to be talking about Capcom. Should be a good time. New developer roundtable, everything you'd want. So bye, everybody. Keep waving while I turn this off. Bye.